welcome to the Unlock Your Blocks podcast. My name is Elyssa, and I'm really excited about who I'm going to interview today. Katrina McGhee is a seasoned career break and sabbatical expert, a certified master coach with an MBA, author of Taking a Career Break for Dummies. You guys, that book is amazing, and you should go out and get it right now. And co-founder of the Break Space community. She's been featured in Forbes, Fast Company, NBC, and Smarter Travel for her expertise as a career break coach, digital nomad, and travel advocate. So this woman has traveled the world, and I am so excited to have her talk to you about this. In 2013, Katrina left her corporate job for a 20-month break. Guys, she left her job and her life for 20 months to travel the world. Upon returning, she secured 5 job offers in just 5 weeks and later pivoted to launch her own coaching business. Since then, she's guided over 100 mid-career professionals through life-changing breaks, helping them return recharged, inspired, and happily employed. Katrina, thank you so much for coming on today. I am so excited to talk with you about all of this.
So excited to be here. Like when you invited me, I was like, say less. I'm there. Like I'm just like, I'm looking for this. Yeah.
Yay. It's so good. So you have kind of a phenomenal, I love that bio because it's just like, bam, 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 bam. It's just like, hit him with what you got, babe. It's so good.
Yeah.
So I would love for you to just share with people what you do, what Break Space is. And how many you are the queen of being interviewed on podcasts as well. I feel like that should be a stat you have in your bio. It's like 4,695, podcast interviews in 10 days or whatever you did. So I love all of that. And I would love for you to share with us your experience and what it is that you do as a coach.
Yeah. Okay. And that number is currently at 116. Just
116 podcasts.
Yeah.
I love that oh my gosh, that is incredible. Yeah. You're so inspiring for me.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. I have a little spreadsheet. So I know, right? Like where have I been and what have I done? Yeah. So what I do in this world, I get to pour into my mission every single day at a high level. So I call myself a career break coach, but underneath all of that, I'm really about setting people free and helping them break free of this really corporate grind, hamster wheel, rat race sort of paradigm that we're oftentimes stuck in, believing that our life is just one vicious day after another and that we have no power to change it and there's never going to be any real time for us. And so in my work, right, I'm breaking the mold and I'm setting people free. And I help support people mentally prepare, logistically prepare, and just really do some of the deeper reflection to make sure that they're ready for a career break or sabbatical and then navigating the break and all of the amazing things and the challenges that come along with it. So that is what I do as a career break coach. And then Break Space is the special place where I do it with another amazing sabbatical coach, Lyndall Farley, who was the technical editor actually for my book. We started this last year and it has already grown to over 70 members from all over the world, people who want to take a break, people who are on a break now. And it's just this really awesome space where we can have an even bigger impact and support more breaks.
I love this so much. Okay, so this reminds me, I am, for anyone listening who does not know this about me, this is something important. If we're going to be friends, you need to know this. I'm obsessed with Hallmark movies, okay? And it's so cheesy. And some of them are just like, no, like just that's not real, but I also super love the predictable happy ending. So I watched one recently where there was a makeover of a woman's life happening. So her sister's like making over her life and she's like, I'm going to make you a success. And the sister's like, yes, please make me a success. And so she shows up, she's got a new job. She's been like working and doing like corporate things. And she's got a new wardrobe and all this stuff. And she comes in one day and she looks disheveled and they're like, and the sister's like, what's going on? She's like, I just quit my job. I had a party at my house because I quit my job. And the one who's doing the makeover on the sister is like, what do you mean you quit your job? She's like, did you know that Monday comes every week? Like there are just so many Mondays, like Mondays and Mondays and Mondays and Mondays. And then you just have to work. That's terrible. And so then she just goes off the deep end. And I'm like, this is your world, Katrina. You are dealing with people who are like, I don't want the Mondays. I don't want them anymore.
Yes. Yeah. And it's so funny you say that. My client's pre-work for a session I did like 3 days ago, I asked him to list 25 benefits of his break. And down towards the bottom in all capital letters, he said, I now love Mondays. That was one of his benefits of his break.
What an incredible, my word, what a transformation too, to like realize we have this like abusive relationship with Sunday nights and the sun, what do they call it? The Sunday night blues. And then Monday mornings. Sunday scaries. Yeah. Oh gosh. refresh, and just helping people get to a place where they can repair their relationship with time and with their energy and with themselves. That's got to be so fulfilling. What can you tell us a little bit about what the typical client journey is like when they're working with you? Because I think there's so much here for everyone listening who's interested in getting out of survival mode. This is like what you're doing on a very practical, boots on the ground kind of way when people are wanting to take a break from their corporate work.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's also giving them the space to do that work, right? To do it in a bigger level and to have more joy when they're doing it, by cutting the tether to work and all of the obligations. People come to work with me usually at one of two entry points. For some of my clients, which I would say it's probably 2/3 of my clients, they haven't taken a break yet. So they're considering it, or they know that they really want to, but there's some element of either having a plan, figuring out how they're going to give their notice, or just believing in the ability for them to do it and the fact that it's okay if they do it that is holding them back. And so they find me before they've taken a break, before they've given their notice, and they really want someone to hold their hand through the important sort of milestones of preparing for a break. And here's the really funny part. Some of my clients will come to me and in the discovery call, they will be like, I really want to take a break. I just don't know if I can. I don't know if I can really afford it. They might have the money or be close to having the money, but it's like, can I really afford that? Can I really afford what it's going to do to my career? Oh my God, what's going to happen after the end, right? And so they'll say they really want to do it, but they're not sure they can really do it. And then they'll end up hiring me and we'll show up for that first session. I'll give them lots of pre-work and they'll be like, oh my God, by the end of the session, they're like, I'm totally going to take a break. I'm like, yeah, you are. I mean, because it's really just being in a space where anything is possible and giving yourself permission to honor what you need and to just say it with confidence for the first freaking time instead of feeling like you have to doubt it all the time. And then, I mean, without fail, many of my clients will be like, oh, actually, I met with my financial planner and I'm actually better off than I thought. And now I can leave sooner. Or, you know what? I can't wait a year. And now I've decided I'm going to go in 6 months. So that is entry point number one. Entry point number two are people that took the break without a coach or without support. Maybe they really enjoyed the beginning, but they're really wrestling with the difficulty of the messy middle because they haven't done the planning. They haven't set the intention. They don't have a purpose statement. They haven't developed themes. So they aren't really being as necessarily thoughtful about knowing what success really means to them in this experience. And they feel a little bit lost. And so they will find me. We will retroactively go back, create the purpose statement, create the plan, work through their blueprint, which I would do with somebody that was preparing. And then there's so much more clarity. And then I just, sprinkle in some life coaching magic. Because whatever issues you've got in life are definitely going to present themselves during a break. Even though you think a break is going to be all magical, it is not only
the problems
magical, right?
Don't just melt away.
Exactly. Yeah. Wherever you go, there you are. And so all your stuff comes with you. So it's basically figuring out what is my stuff and how do I move it out of the way for real so that I can live more of the life I want to live.
Oh, I love that. That is so amazing. So what do you see with your clients? Because we talk a lot about, on this podcast about sabotage and, perfectionism, people pleasing, procrastination. What themes do you see in the challenges that your clients are experiencing? Somebody who's looking at trying to escape their 9 to 5 or somebody who wants to just take a break and get refreshed or heal or whatever it is. What do you see most often as the challenges where, you said they come into the first session, they're like, I can't do it. But do you ever see people putting it off or people feeling like everything has to be perfect before they do it or, feeling like an imposter, like that's lazy. Why should I be allowed to do that? What do you see?
Yeah. I see a lot of things, but I would say by far the top two, perfectionism coming up for sure. So the idea that they're living only in their head, they have so disconnected from their body. Their body is broken. It's tired. It's exhausted. They are pushed beyond their limits, but they're so used to letting their head tell them what is right. So what is right is for me to get this promotion. What is right is for me to work really hard and do all the things perfectly so that I have a great reputation and then I get a raise. And then when I get a raise, maybe then I can negotiate for a little time off, which they really aren't going to take. And so it's this idea that
I'm sorry, can we just stop right there?
Yeah.
I love that because it's just which they're not going to take. Oh my gosh, every overachiever in the room, including me, is holding their hand up really high right now because it's you negotiate for that little bit of extra and then you don't even do it because you don't even feel I don't know, you don't deserve it or you don't want to let people down. You feel lazy. Oh my gosh.
And in the moment, you're like, I have a little bit more to give, right? Something else is more important than me in this moment.
Yes.
So I will just wait some more. I'll just wait some more.
I'll put my needs on hold for another 10 years. It's fine.
Absolutely. Right. So it's this idea that there is a right way and a right point in time to take a break. Never. There's never a right time.
Oof.
external circumstances, right? I had clients take breaks during COVID. So it's like, well, we don't know what the job market's going to do. There's a pandemic. One of my clients had just arrived in New Zealand when everything started shutting down, and she had 24 hours to decide, am I going to indefinitely be locked down here in New Zealand, or am I going to fly home at the beginning of my break and just basically decide to live it out in my apartment in Chicago, right? And that was a decision that she had to make like in 24 hours. That wasn't the perfect time. Spoiler alert, she still had a fantastic break. And she actually used that time to build and develop her relationship with her partner that she is now, like fully with, like they're together. She started her own business at the end of her break and makes more money in her own business than she ever made as an
Oh
employee,
my
even though she didn't
gosh.
really envision becoming like her own entrepreneurial self emerging. Like she didn't envision that. So, it's going to happen. What I like to tell people is you are so resourceful. You find ways to do things for jobs that you don't even like, or jobs that don't even value you, or for other humans that you love, but like you will dig so deep and you have so much resourcefulness, so much creativity sort of in your bones, but you don't use it to like figure out how can I take better care of myself. And so even if it's COVID, even if, one of my clients booked a ticket to Eastern Europe and then it's like when Ukraine was first being invaded and it's like, oh my gosh, is World War III going to happen? Like, do I have to cancel this ticket? Is this whole trip going to be canceled? There's just so many things that happen that are out of your control. And I feel like if you feel like you're waiting for the right time for anything in life, it's never going to feel like the right time if it requires courage. So you have to remember, if I'm true to myself and I'm taking care of myself and I am doing things to let my best version of me emerge, that version of me is going to be even more resourceful, even more creative, and even more empowered and energized to do whatever hard stuff I have to do to get the result I want. And so, like, that's what I want people to know, right? That perfectionism and having it be right in your mind is not doing you any favors. It's just trying to recreate more of what you've had in the past. It's really about taking the reins and realizing like the whole rest of you, everything from the neck down matters too. And you have to like let it speak and make its needs met, right? You have to meet those needs at some point in your journey.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Mic drop. I feel like that was it. That was it. We're done here.
We're done. And we're done. Fastest podcast ever.
That was the fastest interview that had the most juicy things. Wow. I love that. And it makes sense that, I mean, because gosh, I know when I was leaving my job in like retail, that was all I knew. And I was 9 to 5 stuff and I was working all the time and I was, you put in more hours to make more money, to make more senior in the company and da 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 da. And then it's like, well, there's so much that you can be wrong at in that space, right? You do it wrong and then you get written up or you do whatever. And so our brains just kind of get programmed. And so when I was leaving that position, I mean, I was leaving it to start my own company, but it was still terrifying. Like that whole, I'm doing it wrong. Who am I to do this? It's what if I mess up? What if it's not going to be good? What if I become homeless? Like,
Oh my gosh, that's so, but no, it's real. Like, what if I become homeless? What if I get like
yes.
cancer and I become
Yeah.
homeless and then I don't have
Yes.
health insurance,
Yeah.
like all the,
Yeah. What if I
yeah,
lose my house and then I need to buy a house and I can't get a loan because I'm not employed and da, da,
yeah.
da, da, all the things. So I love what you said about, hey, there's just never the right time. It's just always a good time. And it's like you can just decide this is the right time for me. Can you talk to me more about, so for somebody who's listening who doesn't really understand the statement, like you need your neck down matters too.
Yeah.
When I think I know exactly what you mean by that because there's so much to us making decisions and our nervous system is in the body. The head just is kind of like that survival mode mentality. But can you explain that a little bit more, what you mean about like letting your body help you make decisions?
Yeah. So, for the perfectionist, right, who is trying to make everything neat and trying to get everything just right, your brain is designing what it thinks right is, and it is strategically telling you what to do. And what is ignored in that process, right, especially if you're activated trying to do something really bold and brave, like take a break or quit your job or start a business, do something like way beyond your comfort zone, is, your heart, your spirit, your nervous system, right? All these things, there's so much wisdom in our body. There is, like yeses and nos that come and go. If you are in a place in your life today listening to this and you go to work every day or you you turn on your laptop, like sitting because you work from home, and just the energy in your like chest or the energy in your stomach is like this resistance, like this heaviness kind of pulling you in a different direction. And you just feel like you have to will yourself to just be present for this job, right? That's a signal. Something is going on. Like your body is trying to tell you something, but your head will say, it's just Monday, or it's just what it is for people that work. Like, no, this is like what we do. Just ignore
It's
it. Just
true.
ignore it. Like nothing.
That's
It's
what
like
the voice
Oz.
sounds like too. Like that, the exact tone that you just used. Like, "Mur, mur, mur."
I know,
That's
but
what it
it's true.
does.
It's
Everyone's
like the Wizard
voice
of
sounds like
Oz.
that. Yes.
Right? There's nothing to see back here. Don't look back here. Don't look back here.
Don't
Just
look.
look at the big wizard. And so it's like, yeah. And so in that process, right, we are sort of leaving our body. It's sort of like these two things don't touch. There's like our head and our body. And it's like there's
We're
this
just
little
floating
gap.
heads.
And we're just
Yes.
floating heads. And so there's a wisdom, there's knowledge, there's information, there's science. For me, when I was at a place in my life where I didn't want to, I really didn't want to be in the corporate world anymore. I had this slow burn feeling where I was like, oh, this doesn't feel like I'm in the right place. This doesn't feel like my forever, but it's okay for now. And I make good money and blah, blah, blah. Right. But there was this moment where there was like a sadness or a heaviness that just came with me. And I liked my coworkers. My job wasn't bad. It paid pretty well, but there was like a heaviness, like this feeling I am in a place I don't belong. And if I don't change this, no one's going to change it for me. I'm going to die here. Like I'm going to be blinking, be 65, retired, and my whole life before that will just have evaporated and I won't even like have enjoyed it. And so I think it was pivotal for me to really honor this part of my spirit. Like I felt it in my chest. That was like, please pull me out of here. Please set me free. Put me in the sunshine, put me outside. Let me see people. Let me laugh. Let life feel light again. And it was like that desire. And the moment I spoke my truth out loud and told, it was actually my life coach at the time. And this is like way back in 2011. So I was like sitting in her living room office. I was like, I just had a voice speak to me in my head. And she was like, well, what did it say? And I was like, said I wanted a break. And she was like, well, I guess you're taking a break. And I was like, am I taking a break? And it was like this calm feeling, like when you ring a gong and everything just, and the vibe and like everything coalesces around this core. And it was just like, yeah, I'm taking a break. I only have $1,500 in my bank account. I've only been working in my second career for 8 months and I just spent 60 grand getting an MBA. But somehow, yeah, I'm going to take a break.
I love that. Yeah, because if you line up the logistics there, none of that makes sense to the perfectionist
Right? Brain is
part.
like, yeah.
Brain's
yeah,
like, that's
brain's
dumb.
like, nope.
No one
Yeah.
no one does that. That's not anything.
Brain's like, shut up, sit down.
Yeah. Do the work, babe. Do the work.
Yeah.
So, okay. So can you give us the sort of, I mean, you talk about this a lot in your book, and I want people to, just have the enjoyment of getting to read that as well. But can you give us like the elevator version of from that moment, I'm going to take a break, to actually taking the break and then coming back? What was that like in your body? And did you come up against challenges that were kind of wanting to sabotage the experience for you? You're laughing.
I am. I mean, like this whole, okay, so I'm going to do this. I'm going to be kind of dramatic. I'm going to do this in short sentences and it's going to be like 30 seconds. I'm just going to give you like point. Okay.
Okay.
You can ask any
it's like your
question.
bio, just hard hitting. Like lay it on us, babe. Like
boom,
lay it
boom,
on us.
boom.
Yes.
Exactly. Okay. $1,500 in my bank account. No idea what I'm doing. Changed my money habits, tracked every penny I spent for 2 months, made different choices, got a roommate at like age 31, did big things to make my financial reality different and better. Saved $40,000, 18 months. Gave 8 months notice at my job because I was so sure I was going to hit my goal. They were cool with it. I left my job. A few days before I actually physically left my job and left the state of Minnesota, my favorite human in the whole wide world, my brother, passes away unexpectedly. Now, my break is happening in days. I'm going to his funeral. I'm trying to speak at his funeral. And I'm like, what the F is happening to my life? I've been planning this. Like, this universe and God is like not what I had intended. Like, you didn't get the memo about what this break was supposed to look like. Go on this journey, have the kindest, most generous boyfriend at the time that I met while saving money for a break. So I told him, like, listen, dude, I'm taking a break. I like you. We can date, but like, also I'm going to travel around the world.
Also,
so just be ready
bye.
for that. Yeah.
Prepare
Bye.
yourself for the exit.
I know, right? He was so supportive though. He was a world traveler and he'd lived abroad. So he kind of got it because I hadn't really done that yet. But he came on the road trip with me, 3-month road trip. living that dream, going through the grief process, but also connecting with friends, seeing parts of my own country that I had never seen before, like the Grand Canyon, and deciding to go home for a few months, be home for the holidays. First are always hard, just sort of like planning out intentionally my international portion, and then catching a bus to DC, catching a one-way flight to Medellin, Colombia, being in Colombia for a few weeks, living in Argentina for a month, flying to Europe, traveling around Europe. Mom gets sick. Mom goes in the ER. I'm like, what the heck is happening? You can't do this to me, universe. This is not fair. Use my points and miles, buy a last minute ticket from Italy back home to the US, go to West Virginia, stay with my mom for 6 weeks. Mom gets stable. I'm like, great. I'm out of here. Fly to Hong Kong.
See you, Mom.
I know. See you, Mom. You're good. Just text
You're
me
good,
if you
right?
need
You're
something.
fine.
Yeah,
You're fine. I think you're fine. All right.
Yeah,
Bye.
you're good. You're stable. Yeah. Fly to Southeast Asia, stay there for 4 months, get certified as a yoga instructor in Bali, come back,
Wait, I
move to
didn't know
Denver.
that. Hold on. We've been friends for a while. I didn't know that you're a certified yoga instructor and that happened in Bali.
I don't tell people because
Oh
I
my
don't practice
gosh.
anymore and I don't want them to ask me about it.
What a
Yeah.
story and what an
Yeah.
experience.
It was actually the mentally hardest thing I did my whole break. And you talk about
Wow.
things not working out or challenges. I had to coach myself every day for 21 days to stay because it was kind of like a retreat, but like I'm going to put air quotes because like the floors had slats that didn't touch. And so you could see like rodents running under there at night and
Oh
like there were
my
mosquito nets, but like they also trapped spiders in and I'm deathly afraid of
gosh.
spiders. So like not only am I getting up at like 5:30 in the morning to go yoga, right? To just go do some yoga and like not eating because we had to petition for breakfast so I could eat at least some fruit because I was like, I'm dying, y'all. I cannot do this. But
Whoa.
then it was just yoga, 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 which is fine. But then you would go home and you'd be like a little
In,
broken and you'd be like, at least I have my bed, except now there are spiders in it and rodents under it. And the bath is like kind of outside in the shower
oh.
and like things are watching you while you're showering, not people, but like beings. And I was just like, I don't want to be here. I don't like camping.
This
I
is
did not sign up for
awful.
this. This is not a
This sounds
retreat.
worse than corporate, to be very honest.
It was so hard. It was so hard. So I had to
Oh
coach
my
myself and I would
gosh.
say, I'm not going to quit today, but I can quit tomorrow. And then tomorrow would come and I would be like, I'm just going to try the morning. And then by the end of the middle of the day, I'd be like, okay, I won't quit today, but I can quit tomorrow. And I did that all the way up until like day 18. And then I was like, I only have 3 days left. I can
I'm
do
not
this.
quit. I'm not quitting.
I'm
Oh
not
my
quitting.
word. That's incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. So I had to dig deep. But yeah, so then came back, moved to Denver, took a lot of adult enrichment classes, like learned how to ferment my own vegetables and did all kinds of fun stuff. And then really got clear financially, it's time for me to get back to work. Like my savings is running out. And so I applied for jobs. I was scared. I cried a lot. I did not want to go back to work. I did not want my break to end, but it had to for financial reasons. And I really just decided my new goal is to become financially independent so I can do anything in the world I want to because I still had debt. I had like 42 plus $1,000 worth of student loan debt. And I was
So
like,
you
if I
didn't
pay
wait
that
until you
off,
paid everything off. You didn't wait till all the boxes were checked. I love that.
yeah, absolutely. Right. And that's more to that perfect, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
it was me or the debt. And I was like, this debt can be with me forever. This is my moment. Like, I'm not going to have this moment to do this again. Like, this is going to change my life in ways I don't even know yet. And this is before I knew that my brother was going to pass away. So I'm now like, I can't even tell you how hard it would have been to just go to work after like 3 days of bereavement and pretend like my whole life is the same in a job I don't like with no savings because I wasn't planning for a break, right? Like just all the things like this break saved my life and it saved my life in ways I could not have even predicted. And so when I came
Wow.
back though, I have these better money habits. I'm super energized. I'm super inspired. I find a job I like a lot better, even though I still don't want to be in corporate. It's like kind of a dream job if I was going to do corporate stuff. And I use those skills. I pay off all my debt in 21 months. And I took $1,000 pay cut halfway through to go work for a startup that I really wanted to work for. So I was like, I have zoomed ahead in life because of that break. So the break didn't actually hold me back. Like if I had never planned that break and never tried to plan that break, I would not have been debt free 21 months after it ended. I would still be paying off those loans.
Oh my goodness. That is so energizing to hear about. So for you at any point in the break journey or in as you've been building, your coaching business and break space and
Mhm.
all this stuff, do you ever hit those blocks? Do you ever hit like the perfectionism, the procrastination, people pleasing, all that kind of no. Yeah,
I
no. I,
don't. I
I figured
actually
you're
have
just
been cured. So I did this thing called life coach certification, and then I just became like this
and
magical
then
human.
yeah, and then you don't
I
have
have no
problems anymore.
problems.
I mean, I did the same thing, right? And I don't struggle with anything anymore.
Yeah. No, I don't. at all. I just rest my head on my pillow at
Yeah,
night.
I just
No, man. Yeah. Perfectionist and I mean, this is like, that's my cross to bear for probably like my whole life is like up leveling, right? Like it's kind of like, like a slinky or a spiral. You feel like you're going in circles, but if you zoom out, you're always sort of like up leveling to like the new level of that problem as you get
yep.
the skills and you approach it. And so I
Hmm.
feel like perfectionism is one of the spirals for me where I'm always tackling it and like learning things, but also forever going up the spiral. High achievement was kind of like part of my identity, being really good in school, not having to work super hard at it. I mean, I was dedicated, but I wasn't, and like I played flute and I had some talent. I had like some practice, but I got to be like third chair. Like it was just some things came easily to me, and the things that didn't, with some work, it would happen. And so I think that became kind of my identity was like, I'm just good at things. And then you go out into the real world and there's like so many things, and adulting is hard. And it's like, you can't be good at all the things. And you're also learning. And if you're learning, you're not going to immediately be good at them. So it was like a real learning curve for me. But all that to say, launching my own business, deciding to go out on my own, it has been incredibly activating. And I feel like it is a crash course in personal development because when you are the product, you are the service. Visibility was so hard. Just showing up with my face on social media back in 2017
Right.
and saying, will you hire me? Do you want to work with me? Like that took weeks, months, like every little thing that I do now, like being on a podcast, like, every little thing I do, even coaching clients required a lot of overcoming imposter syndrome because I wasn't perfect and I wasn't excellent at something the first time I did it. And I had to be willing to fail and I have to be willing to like look at how I will sacrifice my well being sometimes to overwork because overworking is a trauma response and a function for me. Like when I feel unsafe or I don't have a result, my wiring says, you just need to work harder. You just need to do more. That's always the answer, girl.
Yep.
Again, brain, right? Just trying to recreate more of what it knows and what's familiar. So, yeah, I would say for sure procrastination and perfectionism with a high emphasis on the perfectionism showing up, which then like imposter syndrome, left, right, center, right? Like all the time.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for normalizing it. It's really intense, especially because, people listening to this podcast are probably, I mean, for all of you who are listening, you probably relate to the perfectionism. You probably relate to being the high achiever, being the person who either had things come easily to you or you were able to work so that it looked like it came easy to you and you were able to achieve in a high way. And so for all of us together in this big, sort of mess of needing to do more, work harder, be better all the time. I mean, how can we not need a break, right? It's like we're just living in survival mode all the time. And so just to take that deep breath of like, what could this look like? How could it be different? I just love how seamlessly career breaks and getting out of survival mode go together because that's really the theme is like getting back into your body, getting back to a place of having peace and rest inside your soul. I mean, it's just so beautiful how you were able to, even with the passing of your brother and your mom's illness and all the stuff that went wrong, it's like you still were able to navigate this survival mode piece that kept wanting to come around. And then in building your own business, I love that you said that because I think for every woman who's listening who's an entrepreneur, anybody who has, especially online entrepreneurs, like, we gotta
Yeah.
show up, babes. We gotta show up. Our face has gotta be out there. And you are your own marketing team and the brand is you. And, there's so much that we have to do. But if you are worried about being perfect, it just cripples us so much. And it takes you back into just being the floating head, no matter where you're working, right?
Yeah. And I mean, my corporate life, like grinding it out in corporate, like everything is laid out for you. There is a job description, there is a manager, there is a boss, there are people doing your paychecks. Like it's kind of like you're supposed to be creative, but it's also like follow all these rules. And so it's like, womp, womp, you're a robot. And so, I mean,
I like
again,
this.
the
Okay,
voice.
so when
Yeah.
the YouTube version of this comes out, you're gonna see her robot. It was really
You're going to
cute.
see my little robot hands.
Robot, want, want.
I'm a robot. I know.
So good.
I just like to add a little spice.
I love it.
Yeah, thank you, friend. Yeah, it's just like, but it's so, I don't know, like it just felt so sort of like rote and you just knew what to do. And then you go out into your own and it's like no one's telling you what to do. And you also feel like the high standard you were holding yourself to at your corporate job or whatever your last like employer, job was, that's how you need to show up. But the thing is, that company had a marketing team. They had a finance team. They had an operations team. They had money. They had systems. They had years and decades of experience, but you're holding yourself unconsciously to the standard. Like, my marketing stuff needs to look like I'm $1 million coach, and it needs to have sexy copy, and I can't offer a program unless it's in Kajabi and it's really beautiful. And like, my course is, so it's like that high bar, that perfection, excellence at all costs type of like sort of like bar that was set for you in corporate or in your last job. It can follow you into entrepreneurship, where it's actually about being scrappy. And today's world, it's about being authentic and being resourceful and really trying to be very smart with how you're using your time, because time is finite and resources are finite, right? And so it was a real learning curve for me. And I think it's a real activator for anybody that is used to being a high achiever in a more corporate or professional sort of like company, like working for a company type of way.
Oh, yeah, that makes so much sense. I love that. I think you really just captured it. So for you, what has it been like for you? How have you sort of overcome that perfectionism? I mean, what's your go-to method, or did you go through a process so that you could actually be showing up and doing all the things, but not hold yourself to an impossible standard that ends up stopping you from reaching your potential?
Yeah. Ooh, so like I said, I'm on the spiral. I'm always learning. I'm always failing. I'm always getting back up and going again. I think one of the key things for me in my own journey has been this is really hard, but just not quitting. So I have meltdowns. I've learned, like, if there's a user manual on what it is to be Katrina, I will face a big challenge and I will try really hard. Like, I will try hard, like that little girl that wants to get the gold star so hard. And it will sometimes go well, but usually like something will go wrong and it won't go the way I wanted, or the result will happen, but it's not nearly as big as I had hoped for. And I will melt down. I will lose my stuff. Like, you know what I mean? Like, crying, like the world is against me. Like, why, God, do you want me to be here doing this stuff if you were going to make it so hard? Like, really angry.
I think you're probably totally alone in that. I don't think there's anybody else who can relate
Nobody
to that
can relate.
meltdown. No, we don't know
No
at all
hands.
what you're talking about.
No hands. Yeah.
I'm
no,
hiding my
it's like,
face.
I know, right? It's really bad. Like, it's really bad. It's like a child that, like, just, but I think somewhere along the way, and it was in my journey as an entrepreneur, I realized, man, I've been here before and I always get here. And it's really just, it's like an emotional outburst, like a release. And then I pick myself up and I say, do I still want this? And if the answer is yes, then I have to do the thing I don't want to do. And I have to go reflect on what didn't work and I have to try again. And I care so much about what I do that all the times I've given up, because I mean, there have actually been times where I've said, universe, I quit my business. You can have it. I don't want it. You're making this too hard.
You take this back. This is not what I ordered.
Yeah. I'm like, this is your problem now.
I don't care if your return policy says no returns. Like, you can just take this and shove it.
Yeah. I'm like, exactly. I'm like, you can do this. You can do this yourself since you're so good
You
at
can
it.
go
You
and
don't
help
want
people
me to
with breaks.
succeed.
Obviously, I'm not supposed to do it.
Obviously, I'm not supposed to. So yeah, so I just have meltdowns and then I pick myself back up, and because I care so much about the mission under the break, right? It's not really about the break, although I love breaks. It's about like what I'm trying to do for humans and trying to set them free and like freaking empower them to live life on their own terms and not believe that they're in a cage because it's a cage of their own making. And so with all of that, it's really just being willing to get back up and to know that those meltdowns are just a part of my process instead of making it mean this is the end. And I think that was like a big helpful shift for me, to not let the perfectionism like overrun my life, because I set really incredibly bizarrely high standards for myself. And sometimes I hit it, but I'm never going to hit that on the first try or even the second try, right? And so it's like, how do I handle that failure, and do I still get back up? And the other thing, for me is I just have to prioritize, and that's hard because I want to do everything and I want to do everything well, and everything feels important. And when I am ruthless about my priorities, I will always achieve whatever is at the top. But a lot of times I trick myself and I'm like, I can have 3 top priorities. That's fine. 3's fine. 3's not too many.
I love how your voice changed too, because it gets into like sort of that sultry, like alluring, like you can do more than you think you can do.
It.
You could do everything on that
this.
list today. And if you don't, you're a failure.
Yeah, exactly. Well, because it'll go good for like a couple of weeks and you're like, I've got this. And then life happens. And when life happens, you have to drop 2 of the things. But because you've committed to all 3 things and you drop 2 of them, your brain is like, you suck.
You are the worst.
Like, you failed again.
Worthless. Yeah, it's really intense.
Worthless.
It's intense.
It is intense.
Yeah, and I think everybody that's listening can probably relate to some degree because instead of looking at every baby step that we make toward the goal as a success and as something to be celebrated, we look at the goal and compare it against the baby step and we say, that's failure. Oh my gosh, I had a client, I want to say maybe last week, and she just said that when she would achieve well in school, she would get like a 97 out of 100 on something. She would see it as like 97% great, but one of her parents would see it as 3% failure.
Oh,
And so
man.
it was like if you didn't get the 100, then there was an element of failure to it. And I think even if you didn't have that programming outwardly, like someone wasn't telling you you failed 3%, like do better next time, we still can have all these circumstances. This is where like tiny T trauma comes in because you might not even realize where the messaging came from. I had another guest on the podcast recently and she was talking about how it wasn't even her story that she was telling herself in her head. It was like she had seen something happen when she was little. It wasn't even in her family that she was getting the messaging, but that person messed up and then they became an outcast. And it was like, okay, so we're never doing that. We can't fail. We can't let people down. So just that idea that as perfectionists, it's very likely that you are programmed to think anything less than that successful goal is a certain percentage of failure. We have to flip that and reframe it and look at every step that we take, even if it ends up in a mistake, is forward progress. And that's worth celebrating.
I'm glad you said that. And like, actually, that was a key piece of what I had to do at some stage of my entrepreneurial journey. I had to have a post-it note. It was like a virtual one on my laptop, but I had to record every win all day, like little
I
wins. Like,
love that.
but I had to, because to your point, my brain automatically focused on what I didn't do. And if I did achieve a goal, it was like a high. It was like a drug high where it's like, yeah, I feel amazing. And then you crash and you're out and you're on to the next thing. And like
Yeah.
that doesn't last. And so even if you did crush a goal, next week your brain's like, that's yesterday's
That
news.
doesn't
What you gonna
matter.
do today,
Yep.
girl? And so it was really harsh. And so for a season of my life, I literally had to start actively collecting those celebrating wins, even if they were small. Like so and so said I could be on their podcast. I recorded a podcast. A client gave me great feedback today and said I'm a wonderful coach. Like everything that felt like a win, I had to record it and then read it at the end of my workday before I could turn my computer off. And it was like I had to give attention to the ways that I was winning, the ways I was making progress, and the things that felt good, because my brain's default as a perfectionist was to focus on, well, what didn't I get right?
Wow, I love that. That is such a great exercise. And that is something, funny enough, it helps with nervous system regulation as well, because your brain needs to know that you're safe and that you like got this. But if it thinks that you don't got this, if you get the 97%, then you're out of luck. So I actually created like a wins and manifestations sheet for my clients where they can like record Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, like go through the week. And at the end of the day, before they go to bed, they fill out like, just give me 3 bullet points. What went really well today? We're not tracking anything that went poorly. And I've seen this happen with money manifestation too. Like there's a money coach out there and she talks about how recording your income is, yes, you want to know what you're spending, but recording your income is what reprograms your relationship with money. Looking at the money coming in, it becomes like what you focus on, and then it kind of perpetuates the cycle of more money coming in. So it's the same with wins and manifestations each day, coming at it from, I'm going to look at what did go well. I mean, that's just brilliant that you did that and that it worked. So what has it allowed you to do? So working through those challenges, coming up against that perfectionism, being self-aware about it, finding your solution to it. Now, what has become possible for you on the other side of that, or as you're getting better at working with it, I guess? It's never totally gone from us, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I wrote a book. I am not an author. I am an author, but I wasn't an author. I was not a writer. I didn't
Yes.
aspire to be a writer. And I didn't write just like any book. I wrote a freaking reference book. Like Dummies books are super intense. They have a whole entire index. It is broken down step by step by step. I mean, it's like such an intense process. From the day I got an email asking me from a stranger, asking me like, hey, I'm an editor at Wiley. Would you maybe want to write this book with us? From that day until the day my book was in Barnes& Noble was 364 days. It normally takes 2 to 2.5 years to go from idea to in-store. I did it in 364 days with no prior experience. So the version of me that wrote that book would never have existed if I hadn't taken a break. for many reasons. But also, if I hadn't had my own business, I had to deal with so many imposter syndrome gremlins all along the way. Because you talk about writer's block, you talk about imposter syndrome. Like, I had it all. Like, there was a lot of crying. There were a lot of days where I was just staring at a
Let's just
blank
be
Word
honest.
document. Yeah, there
You know
were.
you're doing the work if there's a lot of crying.
Yeah, there was a lot of tears. There were lots of days of staring at blank Word documents with like one headline and no text. I mean, I had to dig so deep until I was like sure I was gonna like hit the bottom, and then I had to find a way to go some more. So when I look at that book, I just feel proud. Like what I had to go through to make that happen, amazing. But since then, I've had people like I just did a post on LinkedIn yesterday that had like 11,000 views, but it was a handwritten note from someone in Singapore who found my book and at the library read it and was like, you have just completely like, this is a life changing perspective. And like, they were like, we live to work here. And it's just like, it's so overly intense. And like, I really appreciate you in this perspective. Like, thank you so much for writing this book. I've had someone in Ireland do that. I had someone in South Africa, like, like share my podcast with people so much that it charted and became a top 10 careers podcast in South Africa.
In South Africa, that's
Yeah,
amazing.
I know. Like yesterday, my podcast producer was like, hey, we're top 60 careers in Australia now. And I'm like, okay.
Hey.
Yeah. And so, all these things and ways I've had impact, the way that I've helped people, like I have people who think I'm amazing. One of my clients called me his Clarence from It's a Wonderful Life because his life before, I know it made me cry, but his life before the break, burnout, like extreme
Mm.
overload and just shutting down. And he took a break that felt impossible. His wife actually had to like hire me for him because he was just paralyzed with indecision.
Wow.
And yeah, and we worked together for several months and his life just like changed a lot. And he was like, this break changed my life. And he was like, I think of you like my Clarence because when I couldn't imagine my life being any different than it was, and it was so hard. He was like, you were this like person that could show me this glimpse of light and say like, this is what it could be like if you just come. And he was like, and I just followed you and I trusted you and like, here we are. And so if I had never been brave enough to do that for myself, like there are other humans where I don't know where they would have gotten the help, or I don't know where they would have found the inspiration, or I don't know if they would have ever taken a break that potentially like improved and changed their life.
Man, that's so beautiful. Again, with the boom, 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 like just amazing. It's
That's
so
the only way I
amazing.
talk. That's the only way I
That's it. I
talk.
love it. Impact,
Yeah,
impact
do
or
it.
nothing, man.
Bullets or nothing.
Let's go. I love
Yeah.
it. Thank you so much for sharing all that. It's just incredible what's possible when we overcome the limits within ourselves and the people that we're meant to reach. That's one of the things that I always try and come back to is that a rising tide of women who are doing the kind of work that is required to get their genius out in the world, we become unstoppable. It's like a whole wave that can absolutely change all the lives on the globe. It's when you're at your best doing everything that you can do for people that need breaks in their careers. And when I'm at my best doing, nervous system regulation, trauma healing, getting rid of self-sabotage, enabling other people to reach whatever they're supposed to be doing. This is the synergy. This is why we do what we do, right? This is because people need to be set free and we get to have a helping hand in that wherever we have kind of earned it through our own challenges. That's really what it is. And going through all of this stuff and then kind of reaching your hand back to the next person and saying, come on up, I know the way. So that's just so beautiful. I'm so appreciative of what you do. I'm so appreciative of our friendship. I love to watch everything that you're doing. And so I want to ask you just a couple more things and then we're going to close out with where people can find you and learn more about Break Space and everything else exciting that you're doing. So if you could give one piece of advice to someone listening today who is up against her own self-limitations, her perfectionism, her people-pleasing, her imposter syndrome, what would you say to her if you could just give her one piece of advice?
Yeah. It's hard to do just one. If I was going to do one, well, this sounds so cliche, but it's really been true for me. If you are really, really stuck, get help. Like, I had a life coach in 2011. I talked about that before or alluded to that. I was stuck in my corporate career. It was my second career. I had invested tens of thousands of dollars in an MBA and I went to a top 20 school.
Wow.
And it was like I still managed to come out of that feeling excited and hopeful. And then 8 months later, realizing this is not it. Like I have gone completely in the wrong direction. I now have debt. I'm in a second career. I feel super stuck. And I could not imagine, I didn't even know how to get myself out of that. And so I feel like I knew I was in my own way because clearly I'm creating this result, but I really didn't know how I kept doing it to myself. And I really didn't know could there be anything for me in this world beyond this? Because I've tried so hard to break this pattern or break out of this bubble and I keep ending up back here. And so I would say sometimes if you're really, really stuck, having perspective, even if it's just like one time, or an ongoing thing, like having somebody else's perspective to see the problem and to realize there are steps I can take to get out of it. And how am I actually getting in my own way can be life changing. And maybe that's a therapist, a really amazing friend. But, for me, it was coaching. And I've had coaches for different things. I love coaching, obviously, but it's just getting help. Like whatever it is that you're trying to do, a fitness coach, a weight loss coach, even a doctor, of something you have going on medically, like getting help when you're really that stuck and you really don't know how to get out of your own way.
Absolutely. And I think when you've been trying over and over on your own and you know the things to do, but you're having trouble doing it, that's when it can be really helpful to have that other person's perspective. I love the saying that you can't read the label from inside the jar because we're all inside our own little perfectionistic, people-pleasing jar, right? Playing small in here and trying to push our own feelings down. And then having that person that can read the label and be like, oh, actually, that's the wrong jar for you. You belong out in the open. And, having someone help set you free.
Yeah. And sometimes they just see something like that you are staring directly at, but you can't, like to your point about the label, you just can't see it. Yesterday, my client was like, I'm really bad at making decisions and I don't feel like I'm getting better. And I was like, let's break this down. And then I was like, you're actually good at making decisions. You're just over accommodating and people pleasing, which is making you feel confused because you don't think people are going to like the decision you make. And I was like, there's a difference in the problem. Don't solve the wrong problem, right? But she needed someone to reflect that to her.
That's beautiful. I love that. Okay, so next question I like to ask everybody. What is your go-to pump-up song? Music can kind of break us out of our survival mode and it can shake up your actual nervous system and get you going in the right direction if you need a little bit of a pattern interrupt. So I like asking this question to all my guests.
Yeah. So I switch up my songs because I get immune. Sometimes if I listen, I'm a person that listens so many times and eventually I just don't hear it anymore. Yeah. So I have two that I'm alternating between right now when I go on my daily walks and I get really pumped up. One is called Querer Volar, and it's I think it's I Want to Fly, but it's a remix version, and it's very it's in Spanish, but it's it gets me super jazzed. And then the other one is Mary J. Blige, Just Fine. I love that song.
I love it. So good. Okay, so I need the links to both of those, by the way. I'm going to listen.
I will send them. Yeah, I will send them to you.
I love that. And then final parting thought before we give everybody your information about where they can find you. What is your go-to self-care, self-nurturing move when you have a limited amount of time?
Yeah. Okay. So I talked about this before, before we recorded. I want to be super transparent with you guys listening. I am still working on this, right? I'm not perfect. I am not. I mean,
Wait a minute. Hold on. I had you on this podcast. You're supposed to be perfect before you get here. I don't understand.
Not perfect. I can't do it. Yeah, sorry. No, I love your stories though. I just have to say, your stories about self-care, I'm always yes.
Oh, yes, on Instagram?
Keep reminding me. Yes,
okay,
on Instagram.
Right. Yay. I'll remind you.
Keep reminding me. I need those reminders. But for me, there are two go-to moves. And I'm sorry I keep giving you two when you ask for one. Please
I
just
don't mind. Are you kidding me? More options is always great.
Okay. So I have two. When it's sunny, sun is what I think I have a solar battery. So even if it's 5 minutes, I will go outside and just stand in the sun. If I can go for a short walk, even better. But just being in sunshine, it's that is a battery recharge for my spirit and my soul. And so when I'm feeling, really depleted or just spinning, it's that is it's almost meditative. The other one is I am obsessed with hot tea, black tea, really strong black tea with half and half and honey. And to me, it does all the right things and it's very warm and it's very comforting and it's very soothing. And so if I'm having a hard moment and I'm I can't do this, I will sometimes just go have a tea. And it, again, is meditative in a different way. I will love every second of it. So, so those are my two go-tos.
I love it. That's so great. And it's so actionable because I think when we think self-care, sometimes it's well, you got to take a couple hours and do whatever, so that's why I specifically ask it in this way. When you don't have a lot of time, what do you do? And can I just tell you, right before we recorded, right before I came upstairs to my office to talk with you, I was literally, I had 3 minutes because I was doing other things and I was it's sunny out. And so I walked outside and my dog went outside and plots on the ground. She just laid right down. She's this is where we go. This is where we're staying, Mom. And I'm okay, we got 3 minutes right now. We'll get more time. We'll get more minutes after this interview. So we're going to go back out to the sunshine right after this. I think I also have a solar battery.
Yeah.
I
Same. It's
love that.
Florida. It's sunny here. I'm like, I am
Girl.
heading out to the sun. That's right.
Yes. Oh my gosh. And we didn't even get to the fact that you like are literally a digital nomad. Like I want everyone to know so much more about you. So where can they find, because guys, she travels. Like she does not necessarily, I mean, you have a home base
I
because
don't
of
have
where
a
your
home.
family is, but you like
Yeah.
you don't have a house that is your house because you go wherever you want to go and you just stay wherever you want to stay for weeks, months at a time, and then you up and go to the next place.
So I show up pretty consistently on LinkedIn. So if you search for me on LinkedIn, you'll see me there. I share amazing interviews and thoughts on breaks and resources, excerpts of my book, all kinds of things. So if you want to follow me or connect even, like please reach out. Connect with me on LinkedIn. And then you can find out more about Breakspace at gobreakspace.com. So those are the two best ways to get in touch with me and sort of enter my world. And if you enter my world, you are going to be really inspired and you're really going to want to take some time off. So be prepared.
Bali is coming for you. That's what's going to
That's right.
happen.
That's right.
And the
It's coming
spiders
for
in the
you.
net.
Yeah. Oh my
No. We
gosh.
just,
Yeah. Just the happy ones,
oh,
please.
so honored.
Yeah,
I'm going to be
you're going to
speaking
be
and I'm
speaking.
going to be speaking inside
I know.
the,
As my bullet points in real time. Yeah, I would love that. But
yes.
oh my gosh, always excited to be a part of anything that you are a part of. And this podcast is really, really special. I'm so glad that you're putting your genius out into the world.